A lot of people get pain in the knees when they do squats and lunges, and along with pain in the knees, there might be a lot of crunching, crackling going on in there. The tug of war happening in your lower limbs, and it's affecting the knee. The answer is not to stay away from squats and lunges. Just get your body primed and ready to do it. I'm gonna show you what I mean right here. But before I do that, please hit a like and a follow or a subscribe and that notification bell. It's gonna help get this information out to more people and keep this channel going. My name is Jerry. I help dads get their life and their health back. I utilize holistic health, exercise kinesiology to help people get back on their feet, literally and figuratively. All right, so before we get into the corrective exercises and releases that you're gonna wanna employ before you get into squatting and lunging in your workout, we're gonna talk about the anatomy of what's happening in your hip, and really what's happening in your hip is likely affecting what's going on in the knee joint. So if you don't want a whole bunch of nerdy anatomy and whatnot, just go ahead and scrub through a couple minutes and you'll see me talking about the stretches, releases, and exercise. So what we got here is a pelvis, as you can see, and the pelvis is in the center of the body, and basically our body prioritizes stabilizing the pelvis because that's the bottom of our spine. And if you think about everything that happens above and below the pelvis affects the pelvis. And the body is going to stabilize the pelvis before it stabilizes your knees. So there's a tug of war between muscle groups here in the pelvis. Then these muscles affect the way the pelvis tilts, the way it twists, the way it rests, the shape of your lumbar spine, and all that affects the muscle action above and below it, which transfers down to the knee. You've probably heard a lot about the psoas, but the psoas is attached to your entire lumbar spine, your low back. And it runs through your hip joint. So you see the iliacus, that's right along the northern edge of your pelvis. And that iliacus helps tilt the pelvis anteriorly. So that's like your butt poking out to behind you. The hip flexors raise the knee towards the chest. Got the inner leg muscles, what we call the adductors. So those are responsible for like bringing your knees closer together. And if we are lacking strength in the flexors and the glute complex, chances are these groin muscles are going to tighten up on us. And that tug of war will cause compensations up and down the chain. But we don't think much about what's going on down here at the feet and ankles and calf area. But that's the thing that's directly connected to the ground. So that's what sends the signal up to your brain about what kind of terrain you're navigating over. Like, what is it, 100 muscles and 30 joints or something like that is in the foot. And all sorts of proprioceptive qualities in there. So proprioception is just the body telling the brain where it is in space. So we have all that built into the foot. That tells us it's a very important mechanism. But in sitting, we don't use the feet. When we have shoes on, we don't use the feet. So this whole time we're sitting, and then when we are walking, we're not using the feet very much. So the feet become flaccid, they become dead. Dead feet don't do their job, travels up the chain, the calves start compromising their ability to do what they need to do based on what the feet are telling them. You've got issues above the knee and below the knee. So our corrective exercise program that we're about ready to go over today is going to address both below the knee and above the knee and right at the knee joint. This will help you get primed, get your instrument tuned so that you can do your squats, you can do your lunges. There's a particular order of operations here. We're going to release the glutes, and as you can see here, I'm just using a kettlebell. You can use cross balls, work really well, racket balls work well for some people, but basically what you want to do is you just want to hunt around for hot spots. Don't waste your time if you don't find a tight or hot area, but if you do find a tight, hot area, sit there for a minute, move the leg around, as you can see me doing here, and just allow it a chance to release. So we release the glutes, and then we're going to flip over to the other side. We're going to release that iliacus. So I start by releasing the iliacus with my fingers. I know where it is, so if you just find that border of the pelvis, you can find your pelvis on the side of your body like I've done here, and you're just going to breathe in and then exhale. As you exhale, you're going to draw your belly in, and you're just going to follow that belly and trace along your pelvis there. And again, you're looking for hot spots. Sometimes your fingers aren't enough. You might want to get something like a So Right to be able to release this. I recommend using something besides a kettlebell handle. This is just what I was using today. I didn't bring my So Right with me. And if you're not familiar with how to release hot spots, you just want to find a hot spot, something that is going to give you a pain signal, and gently ease some pressure into it and breathe into that area until you feel the pain or sensitivity go away. All right, so now we got that inner iliacus released, and we're going to put our hip flexors into a stretch. So I got my foot up against a raised, elevated implement here, and I'm just sinking back into my quads. Once I feel my quads take a stretch, then I'm just slowly creeping forward, putting those hip flexors into a stretch. I got my arm overhead with my palm towards the ceilings because there's a direct fascial connection with the hips and the shoulders. And I'm slowly increasing my range. Return to a non-stretch position and stretch. We're going to do this on both sides. We're going to hop on a box here and we're going to mobilize the sacroiliac joint, the SI joint. This is in between your spine and the back half of your pelvis. And what I'm doing here is I'm just playing with foot positions, I'm playing with knee positions, I'm playing with flexor positions. But what you just want to do is you just want to get on a box and you want to get that knee up, get the foot planted firmly on your box, and drive that heel in. And as you drive that heel in, you're going to want to lean forward, twist a little bit, pump that toe up and down, pump the knees in and out, but really just let your body guide you. So I do this for about a minute per side before I train. On non-training days, just recovery days, I'll do 2 to 3 rounds of that. But you're really just getting in that position, getting that knee up, getting your shoulders sunk like on the inside of that leg. So you're really feeling that SI joint region just at the top of the pelvis and between the pelvis and the spine. You're really feeling the stretch there. And then from there, like I said, it's about driving that heel into the ground, playing with toe and knee positions, and just letting your body guide you. If you just want to just a straight up just directive on what to do, try 20 to 25 pulses with the toe up and your heel driven down, and then similar on the knee going in and out. So it'd be 20 toe raises, 20 to 25 toe raises, and 20 to 25 repetitions with the knee going in and the knee going out. And right then we go into some groin stretch. We do some single leg groin stretch. As you can see, I'm manipulating the foot position and the toe position. I'm going back, getting seated towards my heels and just playing with foot position. I'm letting my body guide me. That's that inner part of the groin, that adductor there that's really tight today. And I'm just letting my body guide me. Again, it's 1 minute. Then I go into a split leg groin stretch, rocking back, rocking forward, rocking back, rocking forward, really encouraging stretch of the flexors and engaging of the flexors, and same with the glutes. So we're strengthening the glutes and the flexors at the same time as we're stretching them. This is one of my really favorite safe knee primers. We've just got the knees traveling over the toes here, and we're on an incline ramp. So we're getting a really good stretch in our calf muscle. We're getting a good stretch in our soleus muscle. And we're also activating them as we travel forward. So we're activating our soleus, we're activating our gastroc, our tibialis, and we're getting our foot extensors turned on, and we're stretching our foot flexors, and we're just giving some space to that the front of the knee capsule there. I'd recommend doing these anytime you're doing a lower body day as a primer, and then anytime you're not doing a lower body day, use it as a corrective exercise. All of these, use them as corrective exercises too. We just got a knees over toe lunge on a box. So this is a real safe way to get those foot and leg flexors and extensors coordinated, but trusting each other. So if we have this lower limb instability and we get pain in the knee, a lot of times our feet will hold on and they won't really release. They won't, they get stuck in flexion, or maybe they're just flat and dead. But this is just teaching them to safely go into flexion and extension, and to shift the weight, to release the weight from the front half of the body to the back half of the body. I'm not sure what really to call these. I call them foot pumps. I don't know. It just seems to work. But you can get yourself some bolsters, or like you see here, I've got an aerobic step up here. But really what we're trying to do is just put all the weight over the balls of our feet and have our toes into full extension there. And we don't want to cause any pain. This shouldn't feel like something's going to break or that you can't hold it. And a lot of people might have the mobility in the toes to do this, but they don't have the strength to hold it safely. So use your hands as a brace. Use that step up or the bolster blocks, whatever you're going to use. Use those as assistance, so you're not just hanging on that patella tendon. Because you are putting quite a bit of shear on that tendon especially if you aren't fully tuned and balanced, but you're risking putting a lot of shear load on that patella tendon, which unfortunately we have to put some shear on the joint if we are to strengthen it against shear. But what I'm doing here is I'm just putting my weight on my toes, and I'm pumping my toes, going into extension, flexion, extension, flexion. And then we're going to go into individual big toe work here. So I got my shoes off, and I'm actually using the ground to spread my big toe. And as I'm spreading my big toe with the ground, I'm actually using that muscle right here, the bottom of my foot, this flexor muscle here, I'm using that to open the toe and to do a press up with that big toe. And boy, you'll feel this burn right on the inside of your foot. You'll feel that. Sorry if my shoes are dirty, but you'll really feel that, and that's a good thing. And you might have to periodically stop and stretch that foot out. It means you're over the target. It means you're hitting what you need to hit. Just actively working that big toe so it goes out like this and gets it more that grippy nature, grippy strength, and that'll make your foot more functional. The more functional your foot is, the more functional your ankle is, the more functional your ankle is, calf, knee, etc. We just do some karate kicks, 10 to 20, depending on your level of conditioning and what you're prepared to do right now. But this is working your hip flexors and all planes of motion, and it's really good about rounding the clock as far as working those muscles that are on opposite sides of each other. It's taking them from playing tug of war. Now they gotta play nicely together. So if I'm doing a straightforward hip kick or a straightforward karate kick, my flexors have got to turn on, but the more that my flexors turn on while my hamstrings and my glutes are releasing and allowing that leg to travel forward, the more effective my kick is. And that dynamic is in play in every one of those ranges of motion. So you've got the glutes working with, not against, the adductors, and you've got the glutes working with, not against, the flexors. And this creates a much more functional firing pattern in the hip. Right here is we've got some hip bridges. So this is the most effective version of this particular hip bridge, which is the single leg hip bridge. If that's too much for you right now, go to the double leg hip bridge. See if you can slip one leg out and lower on one leg, two legs up, lower on one leg. If that's still too much, you can just do the double legged hip bridge, or you can do some variation of those. Like you can start out with the most difficult one, have midway through the set, transfer to the secondary difficulty one, and then finish with the easiest one. Whatever you can get 15 to 20 reps with. We got these, I guess they're like reverse clamshell, and we're using our glutes to extend the hips and straighten our body out. You feel a really nice stretch in the groin there, and if you feel like pull on your low back, just ease into it, because those flexors, those hip flexors, can turn on, and that, like I said, they're connected right to your lumbar spine. So you might feel a little tug, a little twinge in your low back. If you do, only operate in the pain-free range. Slowly, gently invite your body to go into further range of motion, but never go into the pain zone willingly. We just got some light step downs here. You can do this weighted if you're not experiencing too much pain, or if your level of conditioning warrants it. But basically, I'm just stepping down. This is like walking down the stairs. Sometimes people that have knee issues, walking down the stairs is tough. It's really tight. Again, 15 to 20, one round if it's a primer, 4 to 6 if it's a corrective phase. This is a horse stance squat, and this is just by spreading those knees apart, getting those feet opened up. What that does to the SI joint is it closes it up, makes it tighter, more secure around the spine. This is why sumo deadlifts are oftentimes feel way better on your low back than just a conventional deadlift. But we're really open up to those adductors. The glutes have to fire and keep those knees open and create space, and really invite the groin, the flexors, the glutes, all of that to work together safely. You might feel a little tension in the knees. If you do, open up those glutes just a little bit more and trust that your adductors and your hamstrings will open up for you. So you're gonna do that for one repetition. I like to do like a 30-second repetition. So sometimes, depending on how I'm feeling, what I've done the day before, sometimes it takes 10 seconds to get to the bottom, and then I'm holding in the bottom for 20 seconds or so. But it depends on the day, depends on the individual, but usually that 30-second hold range is really good. Now, once you're done with that, then we're gonna switch positions here. So I'm turning my toes in, but you wanna turn those toes in at the hip, not at the knee. So be very mindful that that's where you're turning your toes in at. And we're just gonna keep our knees pointed together, our toes pointed together, and we're gonna go down into a squat. You're probably not gonna get much past halfway. On your first few attempts, you'll get to the point to where you can get to almost parallel. And on most days I can. Today I was particularly tight, particularly sore. But just one round of those. Again, 30 seconds is kind of the protocol for me on this. A little stretch and mobilization here as we just take a kettlebell. We sink down. All the fruits of our labor should be coming to fruition here. This is where you find out if the guitar is tuned. This is where we play our first note. And as you can see here, I sink nicely into my squat, and I'm able to get my arms between my legs, and I'm using my elbows to spread my knees out even more. And that's a good reminder for me to turn on my glutes, so my glutes and my adductors can work together, not against each other, to keep my legs open and my squats safe. Hope you found value in that. If you did, please share it. If you haven't already, please subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get more content like this. I appreciate your support. If there's anything that you would like to talk about in the future where it comes to mindset, where it comes to health, wellness, or avoiding injury and surgery, leave a comment down below. For tuning in, peace, much love, and live well.